Hey everyone, I'm Andy Raffel from eTechnics.com, and as you can probably notice, I'm somewhere completely different. I'm actually in Richi Bowzer's house, who, as you may know, is quite a prolific modder who's been around since the beginning of time. You may remember a video that we did based on his Razor build that he did with Razor and Lian Li for Apex Legends, and I will link to that somewhere above my head. But today we're looking at something, well, a little bit different. Let's do this. So when I say we're doing something a little bit different, I mean this is actually, well, it's been in the works for, it's got to be at least a year now, I guess, and most of that has come down to the engraving and the fine details. But essentially what we have here is the Lian Li DK-05 desk. So this is an absolute beast. It's basically made to house two systems. And what Richi's done with this is basically put two systems in it, but he's taken it to kind of the next level. So essentially now what we have is one system on the left, which features an X299 platform. It's got an i7-7900X in there, 64GB of RAM. It's got two RTX 2080 graphics cards in there, and it is all fully water cooled with Bits Power fittings, as well as Mayhem's fluid. So when you actually look at this, it has got the black fluid in there, which looks absolutely amazing. Everything's kind of tied in with this kind of gold and orange theme and looks absolutely amazing. Now, if it was me and I was sort of, looking at kind of, building something into a desk, I'd probably go down the route that Richi's gone down, which is kind of putting, I guess, a powerhouse system in one side. So this is going to be perfect with that 64GB of RAM and the HEDT processor on the X299 platform to kind of do things like rendering and workstation-based stuff, CAD design, all that kind of good stuff. In terms of storage, that is all made possible by Toshiba and their OCZ-based drives. So we have the RD400 drive. We actually have one in each system, and I will talk about the second system in a little bit. So that is basically in there. We also have the TR150 drive. So there's actually three of these, again, in each system, and they are set to RAID 0 to give you just kind of, good amounts of storage. I believe these are 480GB each, and they are set up in RAID 0. So you're getting basically the size of what you'd have from, I guess, one large hard drive, but you are getting that blistering fast speed that you'd be getting from an SSD. One of Richi's fellow kind of modders on the scene, Michael Shepherd, who owns To The Wire, has came through and made some really, really nice looking cables to sort of coincide with the whole kind of gold and black theme. So that's kind of, one side of the system. I do want to talk through some of the finer details a little bit sort of later on, but let's talk about the other system. So next to me, we actually have a Z270 based system, which might not sound like the latest. Obviously, we've had Z370 and then Z390 after, but there's a very good reason why Richi went with Z270. It actually all comes down to the motherboard. So what we have here is the Gigabyte Z270 Designaire motherboard. This was kind of the last one that they'd actually manufactured before they kind of changed up the styling a little bit. So actually the newer models didn't really fit with the kind of, theme and everything that Richi was trying to do with this whole desk build. So we have a Z270 Designaire. There's an i7, I believe it's the 7600K i5 processor in there, and 16GB of Team Group memory. So again, sort of, a fairly modest system on this side, but there's again a very good reason why. So we will actually show you there are two monitors here. Now, two of them are actually set up to run from the sort of, main powerhouse system, while the right monitor is set to run, on both systems essentially. So what you could do if you're sort of wanting, I guess, multiple screens at once, you could power up this system and kind of, have the flexibility of having two super wide LG 38-inch curved monitors, or if you want to sort of do a little bit of light gaming and maybe, your partner wants to come in on it, you could take the left side while she takes the right side. Now, speaking about sort of misses and what they're actually able to do, you will notice on this DK-05 desk, and this is the thing that's actually taken the longest to do, is all of the engraving, and that was actually done by Richi's wife. So she took a hell of a long time to do this, and sort of speaking to Richi off camera, he's actually told us that he used to do engraving himself, but once he was able to see kind of what his missus was able to do with engraving, he's never actually done it since. And we can see and understand really why this has taken so long. The sort of attention to detail, like I say, we will put some close-up shots in this video so you can see for yourself, is absolutely amazing. And that kind of goes in with the theme. Everything, as you can see, is all based around kind of samurai. So we've got the sword, or katana if you really want to get technical, sitting in the front of the desk, and then we have all the engraving sort of based around, the whole kind of samurai theme. it looks absolutely immense. And I mean, the whole build in itself looks absolutely amazing. Sort of going over some of the other key specs, again, we have bits power on the right hand side, powering everything in terms of water cooling, and then we do have the white pastel mayhem fluid, and it all actually, you know, gets lit up quite nicely with some blue LED lighting. Sort of, you know, a nice contrast between the kind of orange and gold and then the blue and white as well. And there are a few other little extra added touches as well. So you will notice over the graphics cards, there's a few little modifications there, and also over the SSDs at the front of the desk, just a few little fine details to kind of, you know, I guess give thanks to the brands who are supporting the build, as well as just giving something that kind of ties in with the whole theme. In terms of the graphics cards on the right hand side system, we are looking at two Sapphire Vega 64s, and again, these have been custom loop water cooled using Bits Power GPU blocks. So left hand side we've got the RTX 2080s, right hand side we have the Vega 64s. So even though both systems are powered by Intel processors, there is still a little bit of love for AMD in terms of the graphics cards. So again, there are a few other little sort of differences between the left and the right side. So on the left side, we do also have an Intel 10 GBE network card in there as well, which is actually nicely nestled in between the two graphics cards. And this goes down to a few things that are underneath the desk. So underneath the desk, we have some hardware from Netgear and then Nighthawk series. So we've got a router as well as a 10 GBE switch. This is all feeding across to another cool little device that's sitting underneath the desk, which is the QNAP TS483BT, I think the model number is. Basically, it's a Thunderbolt enabled NAS, but it also has 10 GBE, 4-bay NAS, and it also has HDMI on there, which I believe Richie has explained to me is connected to the monitor on the right as well, so you can access everything directly from the NAS without actually going through the computer. So really cool stuff going on there. Now inside the QNAP NAS are 4 Western Digital 4TB drives, and these are all in RAID 1, just to give, you know, that little bit of extra redundancy for important files. So even though the majority of this system is bits power fittings and blocks and things like that, the radiators were supplied by Aquatuning. So we actually have two 360s, one for each system in the back of the system, and then exactly the same in the front of the system. Now to keep this all cool and obviously keeping it quiet, well, you've got to go with the best. So that's why there's Noctua Chromax fans in here. Literally, if you do want the best, then you have to go with the best. So Noctua Chromax, and again, it kind of ties in with the theme, having these nice stealthy black fans, just to kind of keep things nice and cool, nice and quiet. And obviously having two 360mm rads for each system allows you to put that fan profile just down a little bit, so you get a nice consistent sort of, you know, performance when it comes to temperatures while remaining very, very silent. Other key components of the systems are obviously down to the pumps. Again, trying to keep sort of noise to a minimum, Richie's decided to go for 2 D5 pumps. Yes, some people prefer sort of, you know, other brands of pumps out there, but the D5s are probably my favorite as well. Yes, they do have a kind of, you know, low hum to them, but generally they are regarded as the best on the market. Now, power supply wise, again, you have to go with the best. So we have 2 Seasonic power supplies, one for each system. Now these are the prime titanium power supplies, 1000 watt, which are going to provide clean, stable power, and again are going to stay relatively quiet. Now before I go through the rest of the system, because obviously it's not all about just kind of the internals and the computer, it's all about, you know, peripherals and kind of what's connected to it as well. Yes, we have spoken about the networking side of things, but there is one little final touch that I really want to sort of talk about, and that's where the graphics card and the power supplies are. We actually have kind of, you know, your typical authentic Japanese watchtowers, as well as kind of little houses. And again, this has got some kind of final touches on there as well, with some of the kind of wording and the artwork that's on there, and it just, I don't know, maybe finishes it off just that little bit. And as I mentioned earlier, the katana that's sitting at the front. You can't actually see it because it is off camera, but Richie actually has quite a few katanas hanging up in his living room. So yeah, he's made sure that he's got one sort of sitting pride and place in sort of the front of the DK-05 desk from Lian Li. And again, black and gold theme. It just works. Now in terms of water cooling, it is only as good as, I guess, the weakest link, and the weakest link of any system is going to be filling it, draining it, and obviously clearing out any air bubbles. So Richie's actually thought ahead on that one. So on each side, obviously one for each loop, there is your fill port as well as an air valve, and then underneath it towards the back is where you're going to find the drain port. Obviously we can't show that because of where it is. You got to imagine trying to drain this thing, trying to fill it up, is not going to be an easy task. So having these little added extras is definitely going to help. Another key aspect of this desk is the front of it. So Richi's actually got a black acrylic panel and a white acrylic panel just to kind of separate the builds a little bit. And just in between it is an acid etched Lian Li logo. There is also one towards the back just underneath the edifier soundbar. Now what Richi actually had to do, because he is extending sort of the front of the desk out a little bit, is when it comes to all of the front panel connections such as your USB, he's had to think about sort of how wide he's had to make it, because if you can imagine where the port is, it's only going to stick out as far as what a USB connector actually needs to, but you're actually putting something in front of it, so you kind of need to, I guess, have the USB go through and then into the actual port itself. So no time has really been spared on this whole design, even when it comes to those small details. Now the other thing that I really want to sort of, focus on when it comes to kind of the detail and sort of the nice little touches are these authentic Japanese masks. They have got a special name, but obviously I don't know enough about sort of Japanese culture to really sort of tell you what that is, but I'm sure someone in the comment section below will know exactly what it is. These were actually designed and 3D printed and then 4 hours worth of sanding to get down to kind of, the level of quality that Richi was hoping for. And then again, they were airbrushed, and the gold one has a really nice kind of reflective nature to it and looks absolutely amazing, and it just kind of hides things a little bit, but also serves a purpose to fit in with the whole theme. Now, talking about the peripherals and what's actually on the desk. So as I mentioned, there are two LG sort of ultra wide curved 38-inch monitors, and I've got to be honest, they weigh an absolute ton. They look absolutely huge, but wow, they look absolutely amazing as well. Underneath that we have the edifier soundbar, and just to go with it to give you some extra bass, there is a subwoofer on the floor. In terms of sort of audio, if you're wanting to go, a slightly different route and you don't want to sort of keep everyone awake in your house, then we have the ultimate, all thumping, stupidly loud Nari Ultimate headsets from Razer. Again, one for each system. This is kind of a his and her system. That's how I'm going to sort of see it, especially with the fact that Richi's missus has kind of put probably, and he's going to hate me for saying it, more work into it than he has. He's off camera right now going, no. But yeah, maybe there's an argument going on there, who knows. Now in terms of peripheral wise, apart from the headsets, yes, we have some more Razer goodies as well. So we've got the Black Widow keyboards. On the left hand side, we have kind of the standard Black Widow. Richi's not actually done anything to that because he wanted to tie it in with the kind of black theme. But on the right hand side, he's taken one of them Black Widows and sprayed it up white. Now in terms of the mice, we have the Lancehead mice. So on the left one, he's decided to spray that with a really nice gold. Now when the light hits it just right, and you'll probably see this in the video, you can actually see kind of the gold sort of fleck coming out and it reflecting really, really nicely. On the right hand side, to go with a sort of blue and white theme, he has painted it white as well. So there are some really, really nice finishing touches with this. So the mice themselves were all fully airbrushed by Richi, and talking about airbrushing, that's when we actually look underneath the desk. Now Richi's actually branding this as a vanity panel. It doesn't actually come with this desk, but it seems like a pretty good idea. Maybe Lian Li will kind of adopt it in future models. What it actually does is it hides all the cables, but not just sort of, serving a purpose to hide cables, he's actually done some airbrushing on there as well. So again, some really nice looking artistic features. And apart from that, there's only one other thing that I can really talk about, and I'm sitting on it. The Noble Chair Icon. Regarded as probably one of the best chairs on the market, especially when it comes to value for money, unless you're talking stupid amounts of money for something like a Herman Miller, this is probably the most comfortable gaming chair on the market. It doesn't look garish like most gaming chairs, and kind of goes in with, it fits in with this system really, really nicely because, well, it's comfortable, it has obviously black on it, and it just looks premium, which I guess is kind of my final thoughts on this whole system. Everything looks premium. Everything down to kind of the final details, to kind of, the choicing components, to the LEDs, to, not being sort of too over the top, but still looking pretty extreme. Probably the best desk build I've seen ever. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Until next time, see you later guys. Bye bye.